I got 2 new jobs. I got a job at a Chinese bakery on Broadway. Not there anymore. I got a job at another coffee shop called Coffee, Tea and Company. Not there anymore. Saved up my money, bought Christine a new bike, bought myself my first Volkswagen bus, started learning a little bit of Chinese working at the bakery. Thought, Christine's coming home to a pretty cool guy. You know? Speaking a little Chinese, got a couple of coffee shop jobs, got this cool bus. And it worked. She was impressed. She came home and right away the spark was there. We became an item again. But she felt that it would be silly to jump right back in after the way she'd hurt me. She said, let's not rush. Let's still date other people. Let's have an open relationship. Yeah, you guys know the way an open relationship works, apparently. What that meant was that she slept with other people, and I had permission to sleep with other people. It was not ideal. I did not like it. But I settled for it because I was in love and I was desperate. And then one day we're having movie night, and she brings these 2 guys that she had met when they were out flyering with these bright, colorful flyers for something called Spike and Mike's Festival of Animation. I was like, I remember that. I knew that show when I lived in Riverside. My dad took me to it. You guys are cool. What are you doing up here? Their names were Doug and Holmes. And I have 2 dead-end jobs and a dead-end relationship, and I just want to leave town. And these guys travel to college towns all over the country with a cartoon festival, which had to be the 90s equivalent of running away to join the circus, right? And I say, you think your boss would hire me? And they were like, sure! And so I walked over to the phone and I called both of my bosses and said, you won't be needing me anymore! And I hung up. And then the next day, I went with them to meet the boss and get my assignment for the day and let him know that he'd hired me. So we go to this little corporate apartment out on this busy street. We knock on the door and the door opens, and that day I met the closest thing to a wizard that I've ever met. Mike Gribble of Spike and Mike's Festival of Animation ducked his tall, lanky frame to get out of the door because none of us would come in because he smelled like death. Just a horrible, stinky man. But he steps out and he has this wonderful energy about him and this big smile. He's got a purple beard. He's wearing pajamas and a bathrobe with purple Doc Marten boots. And he comes out and he says, good morning, boys. Feel like doing a little yoga this morning? And all these raver, skater, punk rock kids that he hired to flyer are standing there hungover, like, no, please, Mike, no. And he goes, yep, I want to see a sunrise salutation. Come on, get your Kasavasana or whatever. And they're like, oh, God, and they all get in formation, and I could tell they'd been through this before. They knew the moves. Everybody got in downward-facing dog and greeted the morning and did all this stuff. Out on this busy street while commuters are driving by laughing and throwing coffee cups at us. I'm in a very bad downward-facing dog myself, and I look over and I see Mike, and he's standing there with his mug of coffee just looking over the top of it at us. He's got this smile on his face. And I'm like, he loves this. He's just creating a little bit of chaos to start his day. And we finish our sunrise salutation and we all line up and he starts giving everyone assignments. You go get Sac State. You guys go flyer downtown. All right, you guys, I want you to get out to the suburbs. And he comes to Doug and Holmes and he sees me and he goes, who's this? And I said, oh, hey, my name's Keith. I work for you now. And he goes, well, who hired you? And I go, well, I did. Or you're about to. And he said, no, I've got all the crew I need. I'm not hiring you. And I said, well, I'm working for you anyway. And I got in one of the company cars and I shut the door, put my seatbelt on. And he turned to Doug and Holmes and they were like, oh, we watched a movie. Mike says, whatever, go work. We went and worked. I worked really hard. I was good at flyering. I was born for it. Getting people's attention, getting something into their hand, convincing them it's going to be fun. This is magic. You want to come be a part of the magic? Here you go. Oh, what? You were rude to me when taking it? I knew exactly how to pull it back to give you a paper cut between your thumb and your finger. Ah! I was good at this job. Come back at the end of the day, and Mike takes us all out to see a show. And after the show, he takes us all out and buys us beers and shows us that he can beat anyone at foosball. This guy was ridiculously good at foosball. Had a great time. And afterwards, Mike says, you come with me. And he puts me in his car. I'm like, cool, he wants to meet the new employee, you know. And he drives me a couple blocks away from the bar, and he stops. And he goes, all right, you had a good time? We played foosball, I bought you beers, took you to a show. You don't work for me. All right, that was for working hard today. The guys said you hustled, get out. I said, get out? You just drove me away from my house. He said, I know, I'm being mean to you, so you don't come back. All right, hope I see you tomorrow. Shut the door. Showed up the next morning. It's like, oh Christ, get out of here. I ran, jumped in the car, put on the seatbelt. I told him I quit my other jobs, man. I'm doing this. I don't care if you ever pay me. All right, get out of my face. So finally, the third day I come in, he comes up to me, he says, Keith, I talked to our insurance people. I can't even hire you if I want to. We don't hire people unless they have a San Diego mailing address. I said, hey, Holmes, can I live with you? And Holmes said, yeah, totally. I was like, I live in San Diego now. Apparently I just moved. Spent another shift working real hard with no indication that I would ever get paid for it. Got a lot of foosball out of it. Come pulling in, and Mike has the paperwork ready for me. Fill it out. Here's a pen. I hired myself. It was a trick I did not know I could do.